So welcome. So you're probably wondering why there's this random picture of just glass doors there. There is a story to go along with it. Basically, the first time that I met my husband, I was walking to church all alone, and my college roommates were all gone for the semester, and so I was late for church, and I had to walk there, so I was in high heels, just trying to scurry along there, and that is not exactly the easiest thing to do. But I made it there, and I was just hurrying along, and someone opened the door for me, and I didn't realize who it was. I just noticed it was a guy, and I just walked on by and said thank you, and went to my the room that it was held in. And I am not a very social person, so I found a row of empty seats and went to the very edge of it and just sat down and just settled in. And then a couple minutes later, this group of foreign guys come in, and and they're attractive foreign guys, so that's what I noticed. And one came by and was like, "Can we sit here?" And I'm like, "Okay." And they just sat down, and we just sat there awkwardly for a couple minutes until I finally was like, "So, what's your name?" And so if I hadn't started that conversation, I probably wouldn't be married today. So the point of this presentation is one idea that can change the world. And the topic I chose was talk to someone new each day for 10 minutes. Okay, so why should you do this? It's kind of a terrifying thing to do, just to go up to a random stranger and be like, "Hi," but it doesn't have to be like that. It can be quite natural just to start a conversation with a stranger. And there's some tips to help you do this. First, listen and talk second. Don't fill the conversation with a bunch of chatter. Keep it natural. When you are talking with somebody, kind of repeat back to them what they've said to you. This way they kind of know that you've been listening, and if you misinterpreted what they said, then you can have them clarify it to you. So you should also gauge their body language. This comes with their posture, also their hand gestures, and if they're making eye contact with you. This way you can know if they're kind of not getting along with the conversation very well, or they're kind of not feeling it and move on to a different topic. Avoid making snap decisions about who they are or what they want to do with their life, and kind of how they perceive things, because just because they look a certain way doesn't mean that they think a certain way. And also, don't assume that they're going to agree with you. Just because you're from the same area or you know certain people doesn't mean that they're going to have the same opinions or beliefs as you. But don't let that affect the way that you're going to have a conversation with them. Be open to different ideas. So try to learn from interacting with all these different people that you are meeting. Each person is from a different place, and because they are from different places, they're going to have different perspectives on life. And even if you've known this person your whole life, they are going to have something new to give you. So one way to keep up with current events is to read the news, keep up with social media, all those different things, and that can give you topics to discuss with new people that you meet. It's also important to know when to be quiet. You don't want to just keep rambling on, especially if they're kind of confused by what you're talking about or they just don't understand. Just know when to stop the conversation. And of course, don't overshare. It can make people very uncomfortable and even bored with what you're talking about. And one situation where I find this very prevalent is on Facebook. So this is actually a picture of someone's lunch they ate the other day, #vegan. So just because you find it interesting doesn't mean that other people are going to. So these are a couple of important things that you shouldn't do in a conversation. Don't monopolize it. Don't interrupt them. Those are just a couple of things, and you especially do not want to debate with them. You want to have a pleasant conversation. Okay, so strangers are friends that we haven't met yet. I found that just an interesting thing, that everyone that we've already met has at one point not been one. So one of the benefits of, or there's many benefits, but a couple of them include meeting great people and making new friends. One thing that I've learned is that your worldview changes quite drastically. So especially meeting people from different cultures and religions. Some others include social skills, so knowing how to interact with different people and what's the best way to handle that. You definitely become more confident as you work on your social skills, and if you interact with somebody, you might make their day a little brighter. And lastly, by talking to different people, you're definitely going to be open to new ideas, and that's going to eventually provide new solutions for problems that are in all sorts of different things. And if not at all, or if anything at all, you're going to have a great story. And this is a picture of me when I was 8. At the time, we lived in Colorado, and I think a couple months later we moved to Iowa, not too far from here. And I was a pretty outgoing kid. It was pretty easy though, considering we lived on a block and a lot of the kids like to congregate at our house. But when we moved to Iowa, we were in a very small town of less than 800 people, and we lived on a country road, and basically I became like a really shy, kind of almost recluse person. But one thing that I did do when I first moved there was I met this girl. She's a lot older in this picture, but her name is Miranda. And she had moved to the same town only a week before I did. And I guess I still had a little bit of confidence left, because the first recess that we had, I went out outside, and I went up to her and just asked her, "Do you want to be my friend?" And she said, yes. So we've been friends ever since that day, which is kind of funny. So it's as simple as just going up and asking somebody. As adults, it's a lot harder to do that because we've, kind of built up this fear of being rejected. Okay, so this comes to the next idea, how to deal with rejection. And I think the first one is the most important, to don't take it personally. Many times people are kind of in bad moods already, their days haven't been the brightest, and so it's usually not about you. And the next thing is to just go ahead and just do something else. Just move on to a different event. That'll kind of keep your mind off of it, and then don't let it affect the next time that you go and talk to somebody else. You don't want to ruin the confidence, I guess, that you've gained so far. And it's always a learning experience to be rejected even.